Welcome to Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, the home for financial advice in a language you can understand. Created by Marc Freedman of Freedman Financial, he and his team of certified financial planner professionals will discuss timely topics that help individuals and families make smart financial decisions. And now, get ready for this week's edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial.
Welcome back to another edition of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc Freedman.
And I'm Marion Gilman.
And we're here to provide you some financial advice in a language you can understand. Well, last week, Marion and I were in San Diego, along with Christian, at the LPL National Conference called Focus. There were over 10,000 people that attended that conference.
It's gotten so big over the years, hasn't it?
It really has.
As LPL has grown.
We got some great entertainment. Closing night party was Maroon 5. Yep, you heard that right.
Lots of fun.
At the outdoor shell outside, Maroon 5 was the entertainment. But one of the things that LPL launched at this focus meeting was a national ad campaign that you are going to start to see, whether it's in newspapers, magazines, billboards, television commercials, social media, all sorts of stuff. And it's built around this idea that asks the question, what if you could?
It's a very provocative question, and I think it's a great question. I think it's a great question for anyone, whether you're just starting off and you're looking at the possibilities of what type of work you could do, or whether you're closer to retirement and you're looking at the possibilities of what you do with your time. What kind of a life do you want to create for yourself? And who should your partners be in creating that life?
Yeah, and basically the question allows you to imagine.
Exactly.
And it could be anything, whether it has to do with retirement, whether it has to do with the family you'd like to have, the job you'd like to have, anything, a table you want to build, whatever it is.
Hobbies.
Well, hobbies, right.
Whatever it might be, travel.
What if you could? So we've been playing with that concept over the past week or two, engaging clients with that question. We've been using it. I happened to speak a few times out in San Diego as well, and I was asking the questions, what if you could? And so we thought we'd kind of play around with that. I know you and Christian played around with it last week. Yep. You did it on the podcast.
And we focused a little bit more on creating a lifestyle, what kind of lifestyle, thinking about what if you could in retirement more than anything else.
So think about this. What if you could find a financial planning firm that delivered all of your expectations? Think about that.
Absolutely. It means you have a partner in helping you achieve the goals that you've set out for yourself.
Yeah, because I find, and we have found this more often than not, and that confirmation was supported when I spoke to a lot of advisors this week, when I asked the advisors in the room, how many of you are viewed by your clients as the investment person?
And, Marc, that's the clarification. Marc indicated, well, what if you could find a financial planner? A financial planner does not equate to an investment person.
How do you differentiate between those two things, Marion?
So, a financial planner goes much more in depth. The investments, the way we look at it, is a minor part of creating a successful financial life for yourself. That's just one tiny element of the pie. There are so many other aspects of creating a great financial life for yourself.
Yeah, so think about this. What if you could have a central resource that you could go to that answers questions about when you should take Social Security? What's the best account to pull from when you need to support or supplement your income, both in retirement or perhaps beforehand? What if you could find an advisor who would look at your automobile, homeowners, umbrella policy, review your tax return, review your pay stubs, look at your benefits booklets, examine the estate planning documents you've done, give you some perspective on the 401k or retirement plans that you might have at the office?
And I think another important aspect of that is also looking at your net worth, creating a net worth statement and having everything in one place. And a client brought this up to me this week saying, I was hoping you could add this into my net worth statement, because what I've seen happen is that people miss stuff after somebody passes away. they don't know it exists. So if the financial planning firm has it all in one place, we can say to a client, well, you know, there was life insurance. You really need to go look to see where that life insurance is. Or there's a bank account at some random bank somewhere.
So what if you could have a resource that your family could turn to that knew where everything was and what everything was worth in your financial life? And that's what we do when we talk about building this net worth statement.
Absolutely.
It's not something that we build because you tell us what you have. When we build that net worth, it's based on what you've shown us that you have. And when we've asked that to other advisors, when we presented in San Diego this week, I was floored. You weren't. But I was floored
You're right.
by how few advisors have ever even thought of being able to put together a net worth statement for all of their clients.
And thus their meetings and what they do for the clients is simply select investments, what they think are the best investments for you.
Or sell them another investment that could create another opportunity.
That's right. I remember once having a client come in, a new client, and said, you know, the reason she left her old advisor was because every time she went there, he wanted to change her whole portfolio. And she was thinking to herself, well, what do you mean? There's nothing in here that's any good after 1 year? You know, why would we change everything?
Now, I'm not opposed to making changes when change makes sense.
Absolutely.
We're all for that. But I look at it that when clients ask us, Marc, are you a fiduciary? And we'll say, yes, we act as a fiduciary on your behalf. And oftentimes that answer is good enough for that person. I oftentimes beg the question of the client, well, don't you want to understand how we act in your best interest, not the fact that we say we act in your best interest? And our approach has always been collecting data, understanding the big picture of your life, because to your point, Marion, if you don't know how all of the other components in your financial life work, making a recommendation for change of an investment could be appropriate or inappropriate based upon everything else that's going on. We need to look at the big picture. So what if you could work with a financial planner who takes a look at the big picture always, not just one time?
But wait a minute, isn't that only for very wealthy people?
Great question. That's what a lot of people tend to think.
Yeah, that it's really just for people who have millions of dollars.
That's kind of the perspective that you hear, but that's not the case at all. And in fact, here at Freedman Financial, I would not consider our clients very wealthy at all.
Well, in many ways, I mean, it depends how you measure wealth.
Exactly.
They have created great lifestyles for themselves. They have the resources to continue those lifestyles. But when you say, are they in the top 1% of the U.S.? They're not billionaires.
Right, they're certainly not billionaires. No. Well, I don't know that 1% equates to billionaire.
It doesn't anymore.
I think actually 1% in America is $13 million in net worth or greater. Correct. So you think about that. And net worth, remember, isn't just your investment account. It's the value of your house. It's the value of your bank accounts, cash value of life insurance policies, everything. When we look at these 600 or so households that we serve, how many of our clients have a net worth greater than $13 million? 5, 6, maybe. That's about it. Between maybe 8 and 13, 50, maybe.
Yeah.
But most of our clients have a total net worth. The vast majority of our clients have a total net worth of somewhere between $2 and $5 million. And that's including the house. Is that super wealthy? I don't think so. But the expectation, the intent is that the thought is that, you know, the people that deal with a real financial planner must have enormous wealth. I think the people that are in the sweet spot of the clients that we serve are served so incredibly well, and it's the reason that we maintain a 99% retention rate over the past 20 years with our clients.
Absolutely, because we do the type of work that you can't get I don't want to say anywhere else, but for the most part, many investment professionals strictly go and advise on investments, nothing else.
And some of them do take the next step. They'll say, well, we want to do some financial planning for you. So financial planning means taking a number that you tell them, here's how much money I spend every month, putting it into a model, and then say, well, based upon how much you say you're going to spend every month, compared to the amount of money that you have, here's whether you'll run out of money or not. Folks, financial planning is a lot more complicated than that.
Absolutely, and that gets hit home every day for us. And particularly this week, we had an example where, and this is very, very common. A new client, we had done some research, figured out what they were actually spending every month, because most people don't know what they actually are spending. They will tell you something that's maybe 50% of what their actual spending is. Very few people know the figure.
Think about this. Let's just ask you as you're watching this. What do you think you spend every month?
Yeah.
Most people, first of all, have no idea. And then then they might say, all right, give me a second. I'm going to think. They throw out a number. Let's say that number is $8,000 a month. And they say, well, I probably added on, so it must be about $8,000. So I'm adding a little fluff in there. Yeah. Chances are you're off by 40%.
Right, because you forget all the big stuff that you pay once a year, or vacations, or whatever it might be. You forget an awful lot. We had a client that came in for a financial plan and was just shocked by the number we came up with of what their monthly spending was. And that is not an uncommon situation.
And we don't pull these numbers out of the air.
No.
We ask for 6 months bank statements.
That's right.
We don't care about the line items, how much you spend on each item. We just want to see what's coming into the house, what's going out of the house. Over 6 months, we take an average, and it's a great start. Yeah. Because imagine being able to...
And you can do that.
Yeah, you can easily do that. But imagine this. Would you rather build a plan based upon the average 6 months that you've been spending, or what you think you spend every month? What is more likely going to be a better representation of what your future looks like financially by using what you think you spend versus some educational supported decisions on what you're actually spending?
And so remember what that could create for you, because in fact, if you think you're spending $8,000 a month and you're actually spending $15,000 a month, that's a big difference.
So here's what ends up happening, and we see this happen all the time. Who does the client blame for the reason that they're not hitting the targets on what their financial plan is?
Oh, and you know this firsthand because you actually were an expert witness.
Yes,
correct,
I was.
in
Yes.
a case.
Well, first of all, that's a story for another day, perhaps.
Right.
But one of the things that we find out is that the client will oftentimes blame the financial advisor for not choosing the right investments.
Has nothing.
We got to get into
with
this
it.
investment or get out of this. That was a bad investment. What
Nothing.
it really came down to is you were spending far more than you thought you were spending. So that's why we've deviated so far from the plan.
Right.
That's why we need to track it all the time. That's what we do for you. That allows you to imagine, what if I could work with a financial advisor that knows my entire financial situation, that focuses on my entire well-being, that asks the questions that are necessary to give me the guidance that is needed at different stages of my financial life. And that's what we call financial advice, in a language you can understand. If now's the time for you to get serious about your financial planning, I hope you'll give us a call. Our phone number, 978-531-8108. That's 978-531-8108. Or you can find out lots of information about us, who we are, what we do, the fees that we charge, the services we provide, and even sign up for our free weekly newsletter called Planning Pointers that lands in your inbox every Friday morning, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Just go to our website, freedmanfinancial.com. That's Freedman.
2 E's and a D.
Financial.com. Go to the bottom of any page. Name, email address. You'll be signed up. You'll be good to go. And we would love the opportunity to meet with you. And if you have a question you'd like for us to answer, always reach out to us anytime. That's going to do it for us this week. You've been watching Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial. My name is Marc.
I'm Marion.
And we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Enjoy.
During today's episode of Dollars and Cents with Freedman Financial, your host may have discussed specific financial planning and investment ideas that are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations. Please remember that investing involves risk and may include loss of principal. always consult a certified financial planner professional, qualified attorney, or tax advisor prior to investing to determine what is appropriate for you. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.